Hi, how's it going? My name's Dutch Hedrick, and I'm of Rube's Good Brain Coffee. We're in Kitchell, North Carolina. And I just want to talk a bit about the Aillio. Been getting a lot of questions about it and how it measures up to other roasters. Now, initially I want to apologize because my voice is still not 100%. Okay, but I want to go ahead and make a video because I've just been dying to make one and to start talking about roasting again. So I hope that you bear with me. Hopefully the picture quality will be a bit better because I've got a camera which is an upgrade. So let's see how it does. Anyway, yeah, I've been getting a lot of questions about the Aillio and how it measures up to other roasters. I've had one question asked, how does it compare to the the Mill City roaster? And how does it also compare to a toper or a topper? I'm not sure how it's pronounced. I looked into those roasters, and I have to say that I would be comfortable with any of these roasters because they have the bare minimum that I believe are necessary for professional roasters. And these include a trier, you got beam probes, you got atmospheric probes, you have data logging software, which is important just because it's nice to be able to look at your past roasts and compare one to another. And it's also a nice thing to have if you're into using that data to communicate with other roasters, and you can share profiles online. So that's always nice. Now there are some differences, of course. And I want to make sure I mention that if you want to go into roasting as a business, you want to make sure that you have a roaster which is capable of doing back-to-back roasts fairly easily. So what that means is while you have one roast cooling, you can have another roast going, okay? And also you want to have a cooling fan, a cooling tray, which has a powerful fan that can cool the coffee that you're roasting in 4 minutes or less. So it doesn't matter if it has something you can stir the coffee with or not. When the roaster is this small, we're talking about 1K roasters here. When it's that small, then you can just stir using a wooden spoon or whatever you want to use, and that's going to be fine. Okay. I don't miss having stirring arms in my Aillio, for instance. Now, I just want to say that I've never roasted on a Mill City roaster. I've never roasted on a toper or topper, however it's pronounced, okay? And so I don't know the quirks of those machines firsthand. I've seen other people roast on them. Now, what I'm going to tell you is what you want to be sure about is that your roaster is going to be powerful enough to do the profiles that you want to do, okay? Now, if you're someone who just has a profile that goes for about 20 minutes or so, and you're into that style of roasting, you may not need a lot of power, but I'll tell you that I don't see too many people like that out there who are still doing profiles around 20 minutes. I mean, I've seen people do that online, but I really don't know anyone personally who does a roast in that length of time. Usually we're talking about 15 minutes, maybe 12 minutes, maybe 10 minutes or faster. Now, whatever roaster you get, if you need to do the roast faster, what you might want to do, no matter what you have, is just reduce your batch size, okay? Now, I mean, it doesn't matter if you have a 60K roaster or, a 1-bag roaster or something which is a half-bag roaster. I had to do profiles for hard beans like in Ethiopia, And you just need to realize I'm not going to be able to load this up at whatever the manufacturer calls full capacity and get that roast done in the profile I want it done. So I'm just going to have to reduce the size, and that's not the roaster. That's just, you've got a certain coffee in there that you want to do a certain style, and so you're just going to have to adapt your batch size to meet that profile. It's as simple as that. Now, as far as the Mill City roasters, you can get gas or you can get electric, I think. No matter. Okay, now, I mentioned this in another video. About 10 years ago, I took a roasting class with a guy I consider one of my heroes, okay, frankly. He influenced me greatly in how to roast coffee, and I would read his articles in Roast Magazine, and so it was a real thrill to be able to learn at his feet. One of the things he mentioned when he was talking about recirculating roasters which recirculate the air, is that they produce a dry heat. And he said that it was a lot like electric roasters are. And you don't have that problem with roasters that use gas. Okay, so they tended to bake out coffees, is what he was saying. And, I've got to say, after, 10 years since then, it's probably more like 13 years now, I'm not sure that's exactly true, that electric roasters bake out coffee, okay? I think, and there was an article in Roast Magazine that came out last month or so, which was just called Baked Beans. And one of the things I learned from reading that is there are people who are scientific experts in roasting coffee, and they don't know exactly what causes beans to bake out. And I made a video on that, but my voice was so bad, I wasn't able to upload it to my satisfaction, so I just shelved it, and I'm going to do it later again about baked beans. But one of the things that article taught me is that there's something going on. We have an idea it has to do with moisture and water moisture, and the coffee being in the roaster for a certain amount of time. And it seems to be happening right towards the end of the roast that it gets baked out. And a lot of that has to do with, at the end of the roast, your fan is going to be higher, and that's going to cause a drying effect. Let me compare it to convection toaster ovens, for instance. I've only had a convection oven for like the last couple of years. And one of the things I noticed was that I can't just leave the toaster, the toast I'm making in that oven like I could for my other toasters. I had to get it out of there, because if I left it in there towards the end just to keep it warm, the toast would be so hard that it was barely edible. And I think the reason why is because you have the toast in the oven for that extended length of time, and it's just drying it out. So I imagine the same thing is happening with coffee. All right. So just remember, when you're at the end of the roast, you don't want to necessarily, if your profile is not going as you want it to, and it's actually going a little slower than normal, don't worry about the temperature so much. Worry more about the time that's in the roaster at the end, because that extended length of time, if you try to take a few more seconds to get it up to your target temperature, you're probably more likely going to bake your coffee out then. But this has nothing to do with whether you're using a gas roaster or an electric roaster, okay? It has more to do with how powerful your roaster is, okay? Now, normally, I would say that gas is going to be more powerful than electric. So gas, if you had talked to me about 5 years ago, I would say always go with the gas roaster. Now, here's what's different about the Aillio. It uses an induction heating system, which is actually more efficient than gas. And you can look up other videos online, not necessarily to do with roasting coffee, but having to do with cooking. And you will have two burners, one a gas burner, one, it can be $1,000 gas burner, and then a $50 induction burner that you get at Walmart or somewhere like that. And the cheap electric induction burner will actually be more efficient at heating up your water than the gas roaster, okay? So keep that in mind. You don't have to get an expensive gas roaster to get really good profiles like you do out the Aillio. I really don't care which roaster you get. I mean, if I had the money to, I might have gotten a Mill City roaster. I mean, they are really good looking roasters. And I love the guys who produce them. Like Steve Green. Steve Green, I love watching his videos because he comes at it at a very no-nonsense way. And he's not going to BS you, which is what I really like. There are a lot of people out there who want to sell roasters, and they have their own biases. And so they're going to want to tell you one thing or another to nudge you in this direction or that direction. And a lot of it's not really something that's going to help you as a roaster. For instance, one of the things Steve mentioned was profiling software. Now, you can get profiling software on this Aillio. It comes with it. I've never used it, though, okay, because I just don't feel like I need to. I mean, for one thing, there's nothing that this roaster can do using replay software, where you program a roast profile and then have it match it over and over and over again. That's not going to produce consistent results as much as you learning your sensory cues, learning what to look for to produce the best coffee, okay? I remember because some of the places where I worked, we actually sold some roasters, and they had profiling software, and you could theoretically replay that software, and it will produce the same roast profile over and over and over again. But I never really saw it do things that I couldn't do myself better, okay? And I don't think that roasting coffee is necessarily that hard unless you try to make it easy. And if you try to make it easy, it's going to be very, very difficult to do it, okay? So you can't go into roasting coffee with this idea that I'm just going to make a lot of money, okay? I know a lot of people hear that, well, it's the second most traded commodity after oil, and that's true. But that doesn't necessarily mean that you're going to be making a lot of money by roasting coffee. So I see a lot of people who would come in and they would quit after a while because it wasn't exactly what they were looking for. And I think the thing about roasting coffee is you really have to have a passion for it. You have to love it, and you have to just really geek out on it, all right? Now, what else is there? Okay. I think the main thing about these machines is investment, okay? The Mill City 1K gas roaster cost $7,000. The Aillio cost me, including shipping, just over $3,000, okay? Like I said, I mean, I love the Mill City machine. It looks like a great machine. But I would not, me personally, I would not pay $7,000 for that machine. because I would rather save the $4,000 that I was spending it on that machine and invest it in other things that you might want to help get your business going. For instance, you might want to invest that in green beans. And I'm going to tell you, I don't care what roaster you get, you're going to learn, you're either going to learn how to roast on that roaster or you're not, okay? So that's up to you, and that really depends on how much passion you have for wanting to learn how coffee works, learn how to roast coffee. So spending an extra $4,000 on a machine isn't going to produce that much better quality coffee. And I'll tell you right now, what will produce more better quality coffee is you learning how to cup, how to taste coffee, how to roast it, and how to tweak your profiles so you get a better profile the next time. All right. So like I said, I would use that money to invest in high quality greens rather than just, I want a gas roaster, so I'm going to get a gas roaster. All right. And I really, I hope I'm not offending anyone out there. And that's one of the things that always worries me about making these videos is it's really hard to say what you believe without offending someone out there. I'm sure I will, but that's why I want to have these honest conversations. That's why I like Steve Green at Mill City, because he's very honest about it, and he'll tell you if the best investment you can make is getting a $400 Baymore, then fine, get a $400 Baymore. But as far as, you know, I couldn't get that because I don't feel like I would feel comfortable roasting on a roaster where you have to learn little tricks in order to get it going, to roast the profiles you want, like, you know, sticking something in the door to open it up a bit so you slow the roaster down. After doing this for about 15 years, I just want to concentrate on roasting good coffee and not trying to rig the roaster from roast to roast to get the profiles I want, okay? That's just me, okay? Maybe where you are in your roasting career, maybe you just want to get your feet wet, see how much you like it, so maybe $400 is a good investment for you, and to see if you actually like the business. And if it's not, you can always sell your roaster and get your money back to a certain extent. And it's probably a lot easier to sell a roaster for $400 roaster to a home enthusiast than it is a $3,000 roaster or a $7,000 roaster. Okay. I'm trying to think if I've covered everything here. I'll just say that a lot of the roasters you'll talk to, they will not have that much experience having roasted on a whole lot of different machines, okay? Because, you know, I've got an Aillio, I only roast on an Aillio. I have, however, roasted on, I've roasted on Rube's, Samiak. I've roasted on a San Francisco that can hold up to 25 pounds. I've roasted on a San Franciscan, actually two, that are 1 pound each. I roasted on a couple of different loarings. One was a half bagger, one was a quarter bagger, and I've roasted on a Joper very, very briefly. I've roasted on Probat very briefly. And a couple of electric sample roasters. So I've got a fair bit of experience. And that, you know, I could go into other ones I've roasted on. But as far as roaster, you know, having an intimate knowledge with the roasters, probably about 6 different roasters I worked on a daily basis for a while. So, Anyway, that's just my way of saying that. Take what I say with a grain of salt. I hope this is helpful. I hope I'm leading you in the right direction, or at least telling you what my priorities are. And maybe you can judge by that what your priorities are. I don't want to ramble too long about this, okay? Hopefully my voice is not hindering my communication too much. Anyway, let me know what you think. Let me know in the comments. If you got any more questions, I love it. Just leave it in the comment section and give me a thumbs up if you like it. If you don't, thumbs down is fine too, because it's feedback. So anyway, in the meantime, hopefully my voice will get better. Happy roasting, happy brewing, happy sipping, and good night.